came in this motherfucker to touch the sky, brother. It's about proving to ourselves that we can do this shit on our own.
The first official footage of Power Origins just dropped, and the Power universe will never look the same again. Is Spence Moore the Ghost fans have been waiting 12 years to finally see in his raw, unpolished, pre-nightclub form? Or does the weight of Omari Hardwick's legacy make this casting impossible to win on the first look alone? Does Charlie Mann have the particular kind of barely contained explosive energy that made Joseph Sikora's Tommy Egan one of the most watchable characters in the history of prestige crime television? And does the 30-second teaser give fans enough to make that judgment? Will Angela Valdes appear in Power Origins? And if she does her presence change the entire emotional architecture of how fans understand Ghost's decision to leave the streets for a legitimate life? And with Raising Kanan wrapping its final season on August 7 and Power Origins sitting directly behind it in the franchise timeline, is this the moment the Power universe stops expanding at the edges and finally goes back to the center? Every one of those questions has an answer in this breakdown. And if this is the Power universe content fans want on this channel, every time Starz drops something new, hitting subscribe and the like button is how the algorithm keeps delivering it before anyone else does. The single most important image in the Power Origins first look teaser is not the street. It is not the New York skyline in the background or the late 90s production design visible in the car's interior. It is Spence Moore's eyes. The 30-second teaser opens with young Ghost and young Tommy sitting in a vehicle, and before Moore delivers a single syllable, the camera holds on his face long enough to ask the question every Power fan has been carrying since the original series premiered in 2014. What did Ghost look like before the suits, before truth, before Angela, before every compromise that turned a boy from South Jamaica, Queens, into a man who spent 6 seasons lying to everyone he loved? Moore's answer in that opening beat is the right one. The stillness before the speech is not the stillness of someone performing calm. It is the stillness of someone who has already decided, before the conversation even starts, exactly how far he is willing to go and what he is willing to sacrifice to get there. When Moore delivers the line, "We came in this mother fear to touch the sky, brother. We won't settle for less. This is how legends get made." It does not sound like a young man trying on Ghost's ambition for the first time. It sounds like a young man who has been carrying that ambition his entire life and has finally found the words for it. The hope in this teaser, and it is enormous, and it is the specific kind of hope that the Power community generates only when the franchise is about to do something genuinely consequential, is rooted in what this show represents inside the universe's full architecture. Every single series Starz has produced under the Power banner has been circling the same gravitational center, the friendship, rivalry, betrayal, and eventual tragedy of Ghost and Tommy Egan. Power Book 2, Ghost told the story of what Ghost's death did to his son. Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, told the story of what the streets did to the man who eventually tried to destroy Ghost. Power Book 4, Force, told the story of what losing Ghost did to Tommy, what a man becomes when the anchor that defined his entire identity is gone, and the world keeps asking him to keep moving anyway. Power Legacy, now greenlit with Joseph Sikora and Michael Rainey Jr., is going to tell the story of what Tommy and Tariq do with everything Ghost left behind. Every single one of those shows has been in active dialogue with a relationship, Ghost and Tommy's, that viewers have only ever seen from the middle forward. Origins is the show that goes all the way back to before the middle. It is the answer to the question the entire franchise has been building toward since the pilot episode of the original series, when fans first understood that these two men had a history deeper and more complicated than any single hour of television could fully excavate. The specific lines Ghost delivers in the teaser, not just the ambition of them, but the intimacy of them, the way they are spoken to Tommy as though Tommy is the only person in the world whose opinion of the plan matters, confirm that Penn and Moore understand what this story is actually about. It is not about the streets, it is about the friendship. The streets are just the place where the friendship was forged. However, unfortunately, The weight of that promise means that Origins is also carrying the highest expectations of any Power project since the original show, and a 30-second teaser, however well constructed, is not yet sufficient evidence that the show can fully meet them. The most likely explanation for why Starz chose to release this particular 30 seconds of footage at this particular moment in the franchise calendar is that the network is executing a handoff strategy that has been carefully planned since before Raising Kanan's final season began production, and the timing is more precise than it might initially appear. The evidence is visible in the sequencing. Raising Kanan's fifth and final season premiered on June 12, 2026, with 8 episodes and a confirmed finale date of August 7th. The Power Origins first look teaser dropped on July 16th, exactly midway through Raising Kanan's farewell run, at the moment when the audience is most emotionally invested in Kanan's final story and most primed to think about what comes next. Starz has never dropped promotional material for an upcoming Power show without understanding exactly where the audience's attention is at the moment of the drop. Releasing this teaser now means that every fan watching Kanan's story conclude on Starz is simultaneously aware that the next chapter, the one where Kanan meets the 2 young men who will eventually become his most complicated relationships, is already in production and already cast. The most logical conclusion from this timing is that Starz intends for the transition from Raising Kanan to Origins to feel seamless rather than like a gap, and that the network is using the teaser to prime the audience's emotional investment in Origins before Raising Kanan ends rather than after. However, unfortunately, this strategy only works if the teaser's first impression is strong enough to convert existing Raising Kanan viewers into Origins viewers on the strength of 30 seconds of footage and 2 photographs. And the teaser's reception across social media suggests that Spence Moore has almost certainly accomplished that in the teaser's opening 5 seconds alone. The evidence strongly suggests that Tasha Penn's involvement as both the architect of Raising Kanan and the showrunner of Power Origins is the single most important creative decision Starz has made in the franchise's second decade. Penn built Raising Kanan into the most critically acclaimed entry in the Power universe, a show that took a character introduced as a villain in the original series and found inside him a complete human being whose damage was so clearly inflicted by his environment that audiences spent 4 seasons simultaneously horrified by his choices and desperate for him to make different ones. The storytelling infrastructure Penn constructed for Raising Kanan, the deep community texture of South Jamaica, Queens, the specific attention to how the streets operate as an economic and social ecosystem, the emotional investment in supporting characters who would never have been more than plot devices in a lesser show, is exactly the infrastructure that Origins needs to tell a Ghost and Tommy story that goes beyond the mythology and into the mechanics of how 2 boys from that specific place at that specific time became who they became. Courtney Kemp co-writing the Origins pilot alongside Penn is the additional layer of creative insurance that matters most, because Kemp is the person who created Ghost and Tommy in the first place, and who has spent 12 years knowing exactly which parts of their backstory were too important to reveal too early. Penn's statement on the casting confirmation captures the specific energy the show is approaching this with. Ghost and Tommy's backstories have fueled years of constant fascination and speculation among fans, and I'm thrilled to be able to answer some long-held questions and share new layers of the story that viewers won't see coming. That final phrase, the story that viewers won't see coming, is not promotional language. It is a showrunner signaling that the version of Ghost and Tommy in Origins is going to surprise people who think they already know everything about these characters. The evidence also strongly suggests that the most important unannounced casting question for Power Origins is Angela Valdes, and the fan community's preoccupation with this question is completely justified by the source material. Angela grew up alongside Ghost and Tommy. Their history is established in the original Power as one that stretches back to the same Queens streets where Origins is set. Ghost loved Angela before he loved Tasha, before he built truth, before he became Ghost. The original series structured itself around the tragedy of what happens when a man spends decades trying to outrun who he was and then walks into his own nightclub and finds that person standing at the bar. That tragedy only functions if fans understand what Angela represented before the nightclub, what she meant to the young James St. Patrick, who is standing in that car with Tommy in the teaser telling his brother that this is how legends get made. The teaser's deliberate silence on Angela's presence in the show is, at this stage of promotion, the most anticipated unanswered question in the Power universe. TV Fanatic noted as early as the casting announcement that one can easily imagine Angela playing a role, given that she grew up alongside Ghost and Tommy. The most logical conclusion from the franchise's established timeline is that young Angela exists in the same Queen's world where Origins is set, and that Penn and Kemp, who designed that relationship's full arc across 6 seasons of the original show, have been holding the Angela question deliberately, because the answer to it is something the show wants to reveal on the audience's first viewing of the pilot, not in advance of it. While the first look teaser has understandably dominated the conversation, there is a secondary element of the Origins announcement that deserves dedicated attention from every fan, tracking where the Power universe is headed, and it belongs to the expanded cast beyond the 3 leads. Zuri Reed as young Tasha is the most significant secondary casting in the entire announcement, because young Tasha's presence establishes that Origins intends to explore the full emotional geometry of Ghost's life in Queens, not just his professional partnership with Tommy. The original Power spent its entire run asking whether Ghost chose the wrong woman when he stayed with Tasha instead of going back to Angela, a question that only carries full dramatic weight if audiences understand what young Tasha was to Ghost before duty and compromise and mutual resentment calcified their relationship into something they were both trapped inside. Tasha in the original Power has often been read primarily through the lens of the marriage's failure. Young Tasha in Origins arrives before the failure, in the window when the relationship was still a choice, rather than a circumstance, and Starz has cast an actor rather than a star to fill that role, which is the sign of a production that wants the performance to earn its place, rather than trade on recognition. Jennifer Farren as Kate Egan is equally consequential for the Tommy side of the story. Kate Egan, in the original Power, is the portrait of a mother whose damage flowed with terrifying directness into her son, a woman whose choices shaped Tommy's particular cocktail of loyalty, violence, emotional openness, and catastrophic attachment to people who did not deserve it. Seeing Kate as a younger woman, before the specific failures that produced that version of her son, gives the franchise a chance to do with Kate what Raising Kanan did with Rock Thomas. Take a character audiences understood primarily through the lens of the damage she caused, and reveal the human being who existed before the damage was fully formed. Jason Durden, reprising his Raising Kanan role as Tremont Stinson, provides the structural link between the 2 shows at the level of specific character, rather than just setting and tone, which is how Penn built Raising Kanan's continuity with the original Power, and how he appears to be building Origins continuity with Raising Kanan. After everything this first look teaser and the surrounding announcement have revealed, the casting of Spence Moore and Charlie Mann, and what those 2 performances suggest about the show's tonal ambition, the creative team of Penn and Kemp, and what their combined knowledge of this material promises for the writing, the franchise positioning that places Origins as the direct inheritor of Raising Kanan's audience and creative legacy, the timeline placement immediately following Kanan's story, the deliberate and conspicuous absence of Angela Valdes from all promotion, and the 18-episode supersized first-season order that signals Starz's complete institutional confidence in this show as the next centerpiece of the Power universe. The question every fan is now asking is the simplest one: when does Power Origins actually premiere? The confirmed information as of this breakdown is that production is actively underway in New Jersey, with additional shooting happening in New York City, and that Raising Kanan's series finale airs August 7, 2026. A premiere date for Origins has not yet been officially announced by Starz, but the network's established pattern of transitioning Power shows without allowing significant audience gaps, combined with the 18-episode order that requires considerably more post-production time than the franchise's standard 10-episode format, points toward a late 2026 premiere as the optimistic scenario and an early 2027 window as the most realistic expectation. What Starz president of original programming Catherine Busby said in the casting announcement is the clearest available statement of the network's intent and conviction. Our fans have been asking for Ghost and Tommy's origin story since we first met them in Power, and with the launch of this series, we're delivering in a big way. Based on everything this teaser has confirmed, the wait for this story is going to be the most worthwhile wait in the Power Universe's history. Now the conversation moves to the fans, and there are 3 debates this first look has ignited that are cutting through the Power community, with more heat than any casting announcement since Mekhi Curtis was confirmed for Raising Kanan. And all 3 questions deserve to live in the comments before Power Origins premieres and makes them obsolete. First, is Spence Moore going to make the Power community forget that Omari Hardwick ever existed in this role, or does the pressure of replacing one of television's most charismatic and physically commanding lead performances mean that Moore needs to be not equal to Hardwick, but definitively better in every scene? And does the 30-second teaser, in its opening 5 seconds alone, already suggest that better is exactly where this performance is headed? Second, does Angela Valdes appear in Power Origins Season 1? And if Starz has cast a young Angela who appears in the premiere episode, is her identity being held back from the promotional material because her casting is the kind of reveal that the network wants fans to experience for the first time, in real time, rather than in advance? And third, with Power, Legacy confirmed and coming, and with Tommy Egan's story now running in an unbroken dramatic line from Raising Kanan through Origins through Legacy, across 4 full decades of the character's life, is Tommy Egan the single most important character in the entire Power universe, the thread that connects every era of the franchise? And does Power Origins give Charlie Mann the opportunity to make that case definitively before Joseph Sikora hands the role back to the man who made it legendary? The video currently on screen covers everything else fans need to know about the complete interconnected Power universe timeline, from the original series through Legacy, before Power Origins premieres on Starz.